Hello, everyone. Good to see you. My name is Paul Trani, design evangelist for Adobe, and I'm so happy you guys are here. This is sort of your Adobe MAX Sneaks. We're in a sneak or sort of do a recap of what new technology may or may not be coming your way via Adobe. So glad you guys are here. That's what you stepped into, and we're happy that you are here. I'm joined with three of my finest friends and fellow evangelists. I don't know if you guys want to introduce yourself. We have the wonderful Terry White. Terry?
Hey everybody, this is Terry White, worldwide photography evangelist here at Adobe, and it's my pleasure to be here live with you for our take on sneaks, our sneaks takes, and this is going to be fun.
Right on. Should be a blast. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be good. So again, these are our first takes from new tech about new technology, and let's just kind of go around the room. I'm joined by Kyle T Webster. You might know him from his brushes in Photoshop. So if we could switch over to him and his screen, that would be great.
What's up, everybody? Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Of course, I hope you enjoyed Sneaks as much as I did. It was wonderful. And of course, Keenan was a great host, hilarious, probably my favorite SNL cast member. So that was fun. But yeah, we're here to just basically react to and talk a little bit about some of that tech that you saw. And I think you're going to enjoy this session just as much as we will. And we're going to think about what this is going to do for our workflows to make things easier if it ever comes to be. So thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you. So glad to have you here, Kyle and of course Terry. And we're joined by kind of like, I guess, our newest evangelist, Katrina. I don't know if you can introduce yourself. So good to have you here. Yay.
Yay! Thank you so much, Paul, for the introduction. My name is Katrina Torrijos, and I am the Adobe Spark Evangelist. And I'm super excited to be here. And kind of like my first stream with my fellow evangelists. So it was a really special moment. I'm having so much fun at Max, and I hope you all are having a great time as well.
Good. So glad you're here. So I'm glad we have sort of experts in variety of areas. And yeah, we're going to kind of go through each sneak, do a recap, maybe play a little bit of a clip, just like a refresher. And if you're joining us for the first time, feel free to say hello in chat. Would love to hear from you. But happy to see Carol. Oh yeah, Carol's here. And all sorts of people. Feel free to say hi in chat. But we'll dive into this. So I'm just going to kind of share some sneaks, some recaps of sneaks. If we could just switch to that, that would be great. And we'll dive into the first one. And again, just to recap, Adobe MAX Sneaks is really showing all of our newest technology by the engineers that make the technology. So yeah, so that's what this is. So it's going to be video, it's going to be graphic design, it's going to be illustration. So pretty much something for everyone, assuming you're in sort of like the design or creative field or just interested in technology, because this is the latest and greatest straight from Adobe. And we'll start with Project Morpheus, which is really cool. So we'll play a clip just to give you an idea of this Project Morpheus introduced by Keenan, and we'll dive into the sneak now.
But I think I have created a solution. With Project Morpheus, I can run this code that uses the same Adobe Sensei AI magic that powers neural filters. One process and every single frame has been updated. As you can see, now I'm smiling in the video.
Hey, okay, partner, I love that.
The technology actually did what I would have had to do tediously. Now it's really more convenient. Moreover, the technology was developed to make the result more accurate and consistent. The same neural filters magic, but now applied to the entire videos.
That's incredible, Han. Hey, can you add a smile to my face when I say this? Yeah, I'd absolutely love to be the face of vegan mayonnaise.
Sure, let's do it after the demo.
Cool.
So, if I can make myself smile in the video, I wonder if I can also make myself look more hip. Actually, with Project Morpheus, I can change any of the options supported by neural filters and more. Let me try something here. What do you expect? Now I'm smiling and I have new mustache.
It's hilarious.
That's Project Morpheus, neural filters powered by Adobe Sensei and applied to videos, making me smile and look cool. Thanks for watching.
So yeah, that was Project Morpheus. Just played a little clip there for you guys and gals and everybody in chat and watching today. So what it does, it will actually take video and you could actually change your face, make you smile, do a number of things, but it does it to video. And I feel like it does it seamlessly, which is so interesting. Yeah. So I don't know. I think Terry White, you might have a few words to say about
just looking at the way the technology worked from the neural filter on a still image and the time it takes to process it. And if you think about video being 24 or 30 frames per second, just for 1 second of video, you would have to export out 30 frames and run that neural filter on all 30 frames for 1 second, and the time it would take to process all that. And just seeing it happen almost seamlessly over a video. And I was paying close attention to, I'm like, okay, well, he's smiling, but he's not moving. So that's not that hard. But then it was like, well, he blinked, and it had to maintain that and keep that in the frame as well. So there was a lot more to it than just, fixing a smile or making someone's expression change over the length of a video. It's just, it also has to maintain the other things in the video too. Yeah. So that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we switch to my screen, I'll just give you guys kind of like a little heads up of what that would be like to do it, manually. And I couldn't help it. I had to go get some Morpheus glasses real quick, but let me take those off. All right. So anyway, this is just a single frame. And if we were to do this today without that technology, it would be going to the neural filters, bringing it up, waiting for that to happen, going to Smart Portrait. And since I'm already smiling, I'll just make myself even happier and just pulling the slider all the way over, waiting for that to process. Now, this is, again, 1 frame. So imagine doing this over, let's say, 10 seconds or 5 seconds of video, what that would take to do it. And again, we're still processing this 1 frame. So I was blown away. My mouth fell open when I saw that it, I love neural filters. By the way, in case you missed it, I'm sure it was subtle.
Are you going to sell us some insurance there, Terry? You going to sell us some insurance?
That smile.
Yeah, look at that. Anyway, so again, just whatever the change is to make that happen over a video is just mind-blowing, because you saw what it take to do it on 1 frame. And again, if it was just 1 second, you'd have to do that 30 times. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly what you said about it doesn't distort the background. He was moving his head in the video.
Yeah, and blinking. And the mustache stayed in place, the smile stayed in place. And I was thinking,
yes.
Yeah, obviously if you start talking, then that's going to throw it off. But as long as the subject's not moving the part that you changed, just making that happen over video.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's even a step better than what you get in Smart Portrait, which, by the way, a lot of these are sort of anything that's, is done with Adobe Sensei. There's machine learning going on in the back end. So this stuff is getting better and better over time, just FYI. So I just think that's kind of cool. It's processing based on a number of more photos out there. But I think the video aspect is awesome.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Cool. Amazing.
Yeah, pretty cool. You guys into it? Any video fans out there would love to hear if you'd be interested in that. Maybe you do have problems smiling in videos, like the guy said. I don't know. It's pretty good. Okay, so let's kind of move on to our next one, which was Project In Between. So just to kind of recap, these are not live photos, but it can take 2 photos and basically turn it into a video, kind of like a live photo if you're familiar with iPhone. I'll play a little clip right now.
For instance, they were taken just moments apart. My personal photo collection is full of such examples. Wouldn't it be great if you could somehow make use of such complementary pictures and turn them into living photos? This is what Project In Between, powered by Adobe Sensei, is all about. Let me show you. Just a single click, we're gonna give Project In Between a brief moment to do its magic. And here's the living photo that was generated for us.
Wow, look at that.
That is, an animation was automatically generated between these 2 images, and all these new pictures in between the given ones did not exist before. They were generated through the power of Adobe Sensei.
Okay.
Just imagine what this technology enables with similar pictures inside of your photo collection.
I have so many photos like this because I'm a professional photo blinker. It does not pay well, Simon.
I can only imagine. Let's try another example. We just select 2 images, press the button, give it a brief moment, and here we go. Just look at the transition between the 2 facial expressions here. And again, all these new pictures in between the 2 given ones did not exist before, and they were generated automatically by Project In Between. We can also go ahead and pause the automatic animation, which allows us to manually flick through all the generated in-between pictures.
All right. I know you're attributing this to machine learning, but I'd like to offer another theory. That photo is haunted.
Haunted photos.
Well, I hope not. But of course, Project In Between works in all kinds of footage. Let's take this family picture, for example.
So it kind of does something similar.
Press the
here.
magic button and see what happens. What a nice transition that isolates and highlights the motion of the girl.
Wow, look at that.
Thanks to Project In Between, we can experience similar pictures in entirely new ways, and we can turn these animations into GIFs and share them on social media.
So is it GIF or GIF? GIF? Which one makes the peanut butter?
GIF makes the peanut butter, we make the
Okay.
GIFs.
Good job.
Got it.
Nice.
I would now like...
That was Project In Between. So basically like taking 2 photos and really turning it into a video. 2 like photos basically, and blending.
I have to wonder about this, if it could be applied to animation in the future, where you would be able to cut back on the time that animators have to use for creating the in-between animations. So you have your keyframes, and then you have to always usually have the artists who are the tweeners going in there and doing all the in-betweens. If there was a way for us to, with illustration, make this work, it would be pretty fantastic. I'm sure there's a way for us to figure out how to make that work. I know the engineers at Adobe are second to none. So
Yeah, what a great idea. Man, Kyle, awesome. So glad you're here, man. That is such a good point, sort of creating those in-between frames to a certain extent. That's awesome. Also, I want to kind of enlighten everybody. There's additional technology that like never makes sort of the final cut. So what this technology also does is it will, with video, you could take a regular shot video, shot at say 30 frames per second, and interpolate those keyframes and make it sort of a slow motion video using this technology as well, because it will interpolate each frame sort of like one to the next. So you could really, and it's so smooth, but it didn't make the final cut. And I think that's going to be pretty awesome. And I know there's keyframe interpolation in Premiere Pro, but it's just to the next level, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, and as a photographer, when we're doing shoots, it's never a click, okay, I got that one, completely change your pose. Click, okay, I got that one, completely change. It's usually several frames of very similar things, because you don't want to miss the moment, or you don't want to miss what could be the great shot. So now you'd have all of these frames to choose from to say, wow, I would love to see this one from the very start, 30 clicks ago, to this one, and see what that video that it would create would look like in between.
Yeah.
And Katrina, I can imagine with Spark, students having the opportunity, if they're doing some kind of presentation using Spark, to have a before and after state for anything that's having to do with science. Maybe it's having to do with some kind of molecular change, or any kind of other science presentation, or maybe a history presentation, and being able to use this if you have a couple of photos that you've gotten, even if it's like a before and after in a state of history where you have the ruins, or the way the city used to look and now how it looks today, 2,000 years later, having a cool transition where it morphs from one to the other, and just having that in a Spark project, or even for an invitation or something simple where you have like a little birthday image and somebody's moving. There's so much you could do with this as well. It doesn't have to be like these really intense professional use cases, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Just seeing like the before and after would really help with presentations. What also comes to mind is when it comes to like the social creation world, like people usually use boomerangs to make these similar like moving videos using like photos or something. And like they're not always high def. And I don't even think with boomerangs, you can even select like certain frames like that and see what's in between. So using this, and honestly, I think it looks a lot more smoother than a boomerang, in my opinion. And I think it would just take like Instagram stories, for example, like to a completely different level.
I think so too.
Yeah, good call. Because video gets so much more engagement as well. So I would want to take some still images, the right ones, turn it into a video, get more engagement from it, and everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Totally into it. Well, let's move on to the next one, which is called Project On Point. So this is one, basically, you could do searches through, say, Adobe Stock, stuff like that. But if you could imagine, you want to steal a pose from one photo and do a search on it. So you have the pose of this person, but you need to find something on Adobe Stock. That's essentially what this does. We'll kind of roll
and highlights the person with the most similar pose to your query. You can update your query by selecting new images and explore. These results look good, but what if you want to refine the query pose? We visualize a simple stick figure which you could manipulate to update your query. As you drag the points on the stick figure, the search results get updated instantly, and you can iterate until you find what you are looking for.
And she's modifying those points in the thumbnail on the left.
Fit our concept well.
And how does that make you feel?
So many awkward pauses, but I love it.
That was easy and fun, right? Our final Surreal photo collage project is a huge success.
And obviously the example there is, you're trying to create some sort of composition and need the right pose. So it's a matter of sorting through 4 million photos or having, On Point do it for you. All right, so let's kind of skip ahead a little bit. She also takes 2 photos.
To make a new composition. I can use the stick figure to
2 photos that she shot. So in this case, again, like Terry, I could see you using this, or anybody who takes photos, having searching through your own database of photos to find the right pose for your composition, to put 2 photos together, essentially.
To make a new composition. I can use the stick figure to prescribe a query pose, and On Point returns the images in the album with the most similar pose to my query. Here, this photo looks good. I can now composite this to one of my own photos to create that perfect moment I was looking for, to make a new composition.
All right.
Use the stick figure
So I have to, when I look at this, immediately I'm always going to the illustration solution here, but I mean concept artists and artists who work for film are constantly having to sketch up ideas for various scenes that are in the script. And the work that is required when they have to do a lot of photo bashing is ridiculous. And they're also limited then by the photos that they're able to just find on their own when they have a tight deadline. Imagine being able to sketch the pose for what you want and then have all these results come up with the right pose that you can choose from to put into that photo bash project in Photoshop. I mean, you're going to save people hours and hours of time of hunting, and they're going to be able to also get a much more specific to their vision image from these results, as opposed to just kind of sticking with what they're able to accomplish in that limited amount of time they always have on deadline. So really a cool application for that, I think.
Yeah, and there's even another sneak that will work even closer to kind of like what you're talking about. So yeah, we have that coming up, which is awesome. But you're exactly right. It's like hunting through photos or manipulating what you have are the 2 hurdles that we have as creatives to like kind of capture our vision. So that is so true. We'll move on to this next one because I'm just kind of checking the time. Actually, we're doing pretty well, so that's good. So that is On Point. I want to kind of talk about shadow drop because I want this so bad. Kyle, I think you'll want it. Katrina, It's all about, again, making things look realistic without us doing a ton of work. So we're going to dive into this right now, kind of starting it right here. So this first image is just a flat image. It is not 3D at all. It's just a flat layer, if you will. And shadow drop automatically does.
Shadow drop generates a nice soft shadow on the bottom of the plant, making it look real and grounded. Want to change the shadow style? No problem. There's a slider here that controls the softness. When you decrease the softness, As you can see, the shadow just gets harder and you started to see the shape of the leaves in the shadow. When we increase the softness, the shadow gets softer and smoother, just like what you will see in a well-lit room. Let's move back a little bit. Note that this is just a 2D image layer, not a 3D asset. Since there's no more slider here,
That's amazing.
you may wonder, how can we add and change shadow direction? Well, it's quite easy. In Shadow Drop, all you need to do is to click and drag the shadow to the place you want. Done. Once you're satisfied with your shadow, we can bring back the rest of the object in the scene, and their shadow automatically matches what we have set for the plant. We can also change their shadow all at once. Yeah, quite amazing. There's one more feature I want to share with you. Alternatively, we can click this option and we'll drop a nice soft reflection effect on the floor. Looks nice too. Either way, it's a much better compositing than what I have started with a couple minutes ago. What a time saver. Now we have learned the basics of Shadow Drop. Let's try creating something new. This is a kid's room with a bed. As before, with a few clicks, we can create a very nice soft shadow for the bed so it doesn't look flat anymore. However, it's still not quite right yet. There's a wall in the scene and the shadow should be casted on the wall. Don't worry. In Shadow Drop, we can add a wall too. As you can see, when the wall moves closer to the object, its shadow gets updated accordingly, adding more photorealism to this composition. Shadow Drop can also handle illustration too. Here we add a cartoon girl. As expected, her shadow automatically matches the scene. What's more interesting is that when she starts to move, her shadow moves with her.
Wow.
Imagine how much time you would have spent on this without a Shadow Drop. One more thing. Shadow Drop does not assume that the object is always on the ground. Instead, it computes shadow based on the distance we set between the object and the floor. Therefore, we can make the scene more exciting.
Sounds great. I'm on the edge of my shadowless chair here.
Let's try lifting the bed in the air. Wow, Shadow Drop just creates convincing floating effect for the bed using the updated shadow. This is the final composition we have just created with Shadow Drop using only 2D image layers in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
This is before, and this is after.
You guys get the
Hope
idea.
you enjoy this.
Yeah, I wish we had this now. It's amazing.
Yeah, tell me about it. This, you know, in order to do anything like this today, you would need Adobe Stager, or previously known as Dimension, and you would have to have 3D models basically that the program can calculate the light for, and so forth and so on. Being able to do this with 2D compositing is game changing, because shadows are really what makes a composite look more realistic. If you, without the shadows, without them being right, you can always tell, yeah, that was added to the photo. I can see, because it doesn't match the shadows and it doesn't match the, you know, colors, another aspect, but it doesn't match. But just being able to just drop all this in, create the shadows you want, and then have it match across all the objects, that will save people hours.
As well as the fact that they're able to incorporate a surface to have the shadow project onto the surface.
On the wall.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Like, I don't even know, like, so I don't know, maybe we could throw to you, Kyle, if you're interested.
Yeah.
Like, how would you do this today? Because again, these are flat images. Flat images being used.
I can show you how I would try and do that today, just with one
little
section of that
challenge.
same.
And we're going to time you, and then we're going to compare it to the video we just made.
Great. I would make a selection of, so for like the plant, for example, I would make a selection of that layer by command clicking on the image thumbnail for that layer. And I would just fill it with a dark color, you know. So I'm going to Option Delete to fill that. And then I would Command T or Control T on a PC. I'm just going to transform that. Maybe I want to cast a shadow in this direction. So now I've got that shape, but of course I have to come in and do things like start to modify that shape. I'm using the lasso tool here to get that to look a little better. Then I would want to create a mask. So I'm going to come down and create a mask. And then with that mask, I'm going to mess around with that in a minute, but first I want to blur some of what's happening here.
Okay.
So I'm going to grab my...
I'm counting all your steps.
Yeah, this is crazy, right?
This is like
I'm
5.
going to do this. I'm going to kind of start blurring this section here. We'll go to a Gaussian blur here. Say okay. And I'll probably repeat that blur a couple times. And then it gets too blurry here, so I want to undo that, and then I want to make another selection. You can see how time consuming this is. I'm going to blur that there. Okay, it's a little better. Then I would go to my mask and grab a big soft brush and start to like paint with black to make that shadow fade as it gets further away from the source.
Interesting.
Okay. And that's starting to look okay. But then you see I've got issues here where there's like a line, but then a blur that doesn't look very realistic. I don't know. Where am I at with time now?
You're over time, man.
Going.
The other person with the sneak has already submitted it. They moved on to their next project.
So you can see, yeah, it's, I mean, this is what I'm used to doing, but I mean, it's still, yeah, it takes a lot of work.
And then they decide they want the shadow from a different direction.
That's the main thing. I can't change it once I've done all this.
And as Sam points out, like, again, it was impressive because, he's able to, with a slider, adjust so the light came from above and cast the leaves down, which, again, is a whole other thing. Like, how the heck does it do that? I don't know.
It's amazing. It just figures out what that three-dimensional object is based on, I guess, hunting and viewing hundreds of millions of images. And then, I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I don't know either.
I don't get paid to do that kind of work, so it's just as mysterious to me as everyone else watching.
It's so cool. That's the actual engineer who was working on that project. So I think that's so cool. Whether it's analyzing images or understanding the angles of things is beyond me. So
I'm gonna send him an email and ask him to hurry it along.
Hurry it along. Give it the program. That's what's like. Take my money. Make it happen now because it's saving me so much time. And I'm not going to tell my boss because I'm telling let my boss think I did it all myself. That sort of situation. But yeah.
So just to address a couple of quick things I see going on in the chat, people are like, "Is this going to be in the next version of Photoshop or Illustrator or only in this product or this?" These are technology sneaks that aren't in any product yet. They aren't committed to any particular product. They may happen. They may not happen. I've seen sneaks years ago that took years to get into the product. I've seen sneaks years ago that never made it into the products. So this is like, we're showing you what the engineers are thinking about and the kinds of things they're working on. And hopefully cool stuff like the shadows, we will see in your favorite products, but that's not a guarantee.
Yeah, and like, let your voice be known. Like, tell us what you like. Like, just the more social media presence about, like, whether it's shadow drop or on point or whatever, like, let us know what you guys like. And the louder your voice is heard, then hey, it might happen. I think, Katrina, like, you're not usually necessarily working in Photoshop, but could you see yourself using this if it was like in Spark or something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, when you're saying let us know what you like, I was gonna chime in and be like, I would like to see this in Spark, because for all of my small business owners out there, people who sell products, this would be great for product photography, because I've shot products before in the past and I would have to put up like a white styrofoam board in the background, do some flat lays, get like a sample of marble tile from Home Depot or something, and then just like create the background myself. But with the shadow drop here, like, you can put in any background you want and make it look realistic by adding in those shadows. They do really make a difference.
And we're definitely like thinking about that, because we know people do have to process, or in production have to produce like a lot of those images. So imagine if your whole job is producing those images. And if you had something like this and could take those 3-hour lunches, right? And stuff like that would be really cool.
Yeah, and I used to do product photography for a boot company, and I would have to, or actually outsourced for people to put in fake shadows. So be able to have this feature and just do it myself would be just so much easier. So
that's so cool. And again, none of this technology is to help us. It's not, we're not taking anybody's job away, or like, this is never gonna, like, it's just gonna be the next thing is gonna be little clips of video, and you're gonna have to learn how to, like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's not like we don't have enough work to do as designers. We just need the tools to get our job done. Oh, cool. Good to hear. Let's dive into this next sneak. It's called Project Sunshine, done in good old, well, he actually demos it in Illustrator, and I don't know if you can tell, there's two different parts to it. The first part is very similar to like what Photoshop can, or excuse me, Illustrator can do today. Let's roll tape. Oh, let's turn up the volume.
Vector outline.
Is that what a vector is?
Next, let's try adding some colors to this character. I'm going to go in and assign some colors. Let's say gray for the teeth, yellow for the candle.
So that's kind of how you do things today, right? You do a live trace, which we know good old Capture can do as well. But he takes it to the next level right here real fast.
Project Sunshine to the rescue. We just select our character, invoke the color tool, click, and it fills the artwork with harmonious colors powered by Adobe Sensei technology. I can just scroll through the list of suggestions. And I can load any that I like into my artwork. What's cool is that it's not just assigning random colors to different regions, but it's able to smartly group components together, like using similar colors for the horns or the teeth. If one of these suggestions is close, but not quite what I'm looking for, then because everything is vectorized, it's easy for me to continue making edits however I like. Now that I have a lot of different color variations of this character,
Hopefully
I'm going
everybody
to go ahead and put them together into my comic.
Because he basically, it identifies the teeth and the horns and groups them together and makes them the same color.
That's nuts.
Karen, and come have some cake in the conference room.
Sorry, that was a little low.
Sorry, Matthew. Please continue.
These flat colors look nice, but to give the strip a more realistic feel, I want to add shading and highlights. Normally, I'd pick a character to start with and dive in by drawing some shadows. Just finishing and tweaking the shading for this character could take me quite a while. And if I decide I don't like a decision I made, like the direction of the light, I'd have to start all over again. This is where this technology really shines. To add shadows to my monster, I'm going to select, open up the Shadows tool, and magically, I get this nice, crisp vector shading. And to go one step further, I'm going to adjust the lighting direction, and the shadows automatically move around the character. What's great is that this doesn't just work for a single object, but we can easily apply this lighting globally to the whole scene. I'll just pick an angle that I like. And there we go. This added awesome realism to the comic and saved me a lot of time.
I gotta admit,
Cool.
this Office Monster Birthday Spectacular does look much more realistic, especially all the little fingers coming out of the cakes. Oh wait, those are candles.
Well, speaking of artwork with more complicated components like fingers and hair,
I'll kind of fast forward.
let's take one direction for the shadows and another direction for the glow from the sun. And because everything is
Nice.
vectorized, I can just go
Yeah.
in here. I'm gonna apply, let's say, yellow here for the sun, purple here,
Rim light.
shadows. Let's adjust the transparency.
What was that, Kyle? What did you call that?
Rim light.
Rim light? Like
Yeah, the
light
depth
coming
to our
from
characters,
sort of
even across
the back?
complex regions.
From the back and lighting up, but I mean, it's
Magic of sunshine in no time.
not
at all.
quite rim light, but close enough.
Yes.
Huge time saver. Very cool.
Very cool. Very cool indeed. So that's Project Sunshine.
A vibrant vector.
So hopefully everybody got that. Like, so essentially it does not only, well, once you have something vectorized, you can automatically colorize it, right? And it knows it'll make the arms the same color, and you know, the horns the same color, things like that. So it intelligently knows what the image is, and then obviously adds the lighting as well. So
It's amazing.
it does it all in vector, like on a separate layer.
Like, it'd be fun to see if we could bring that down the road to some other apps like Fresco, where if you're a comic artist, or in Photoshop too, if you're a comics artist and you're working to do your coloring, and just be able to use tools like this, save a ton of time. Or if you're a production artist on a much larger comics project, like a graphic novel like Kazu's Amulet, where they have to bust out, 300 pages, and he's got a couple of artists helping him out with that. There's people on the production side who saved them a ton of time, and you could just make the art that much better because you'd have more time for drawing, and it would be really, really cool.
Yeah. And think about combining these technologies together, because obviously this is the sort of that creation stage, combining this with like in between and sort of stacking up some of these sneaks would be kind of fun to do.
Character mockups for like when you're in that design phase and animation, you're just trying to figure out color schemes and designs, like huge time saver.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully if you're doing any vector work out there in chat and everywhere, hopefully you're into this. Also, the next one is also vector based, which will be fun, more along the lines of doing graphic design. We will jump to this one. It's called Stylus Strokes. So actually, you know what? Yeah, so I mean, typically if you're going to create something in Illustrator, if you apply, well, I'll just jump to the solution. If you apply strokes to a text, it does it around the edge and not the body of the text. So you have to go in and do this jazz. This is our life. Like, oh, I want this this like pattern inside of these letters. We got to go through and click, as you know, which is what Paul Ascente shows here as well. But let's jump to the solution, right? Because he's like, hey, you know what? I'll just magically click.
Apply to fill in the brushes panel. And after we do that, we can select the type, apply the brush, and get exactly what we wanted. Stylus Strokes analyzed the font outlines and automatically found the strokes that make up the letters.
Oh, wow, cool.
Now, let's go to Paris.
Vive la France, am I right? Am I?
We can select a type, and with a single click, voila.
Ooh la la.
Just imagine how long it would have taken to trace all those letters by hand.
With all the time I'm going to save, I can take on like 3 more jobs. Hey, Naomi, money!
Our next stop is Berlin. Keenan, what do you think about when you think about Berlin?
Asymmetrical banks, underground techno clubs, walls, Liza Minnelli in the hit 1966 musical Cabaret.
Oh, I'm totally with you on Liza. But I
Asymmetrical
also
banks.
love all the fantastic street art and graffiti in Berlin.
Yes, of course, and street art.
With Stylus Strokes, we can also turn fonts into graffiti. Because the results are based on the font, we can get different styles just by changing the font. None of these is quite right, so let's try a different style. Oh, I really like this bubble style, but it's not quite right for the poster, so let's try another one.
And those are all brushes.
Ah, great. I love the arrows, but not quite the right colors. So let's try some different color palettes from Adobe Color until we find one we like. And now we can go back to Illustrator and get rid of this boring type and put in our graffiti. Perfect.
Oh, this is going to be a game changer for teenage graffiti crews. You guys want to do some tagging today? Just get the latest Adobe update.
Well, that's an idea. For our final stop, let's go to Florence. The Ponte Vecchio is so amazing, and I'd like to use it for inspiration for styling my type. Stylus Strokes can find strokes that are similar across characters, like all of these verticals, or these pieces at the top of the F and the L, or all of the serifs. We can select a group of them and then replace them all with a piece of custom artwork. You can see how similar strokes have been replaced with the same artwork. Let's go to the final version.
So the artist just has to make,
finally, I wonder what one of
shapes
Florence's
for
most
each one of
famous
those
citizens
colors.
might do with Stylus Strokes. I think Leonardo da Vinci might like the ability to create animated stylizations. Again, let's skip to the final version. Wow. So, Keenan, I hope you're thinking about how you could use Stylus Strokes. Mille grazie. Ciao.
That looks amazing. And
That
I'm
is
glad
amazing. Cool. Does that make sense? So those two. By the way, these last two have both been, at least for the most part, have actually been in Illustrator. So not a separate app, which I think is kind of cool. And I have not crossed because I love Illustrator. Right? So
Yeah.
you know, Kyle or anybody that wants to answer, like, has anybody like done any hand lettering, for instance?
I have
Lots.
hand lettering, but I love working with type, and just to see that, like that last part where you change like parts of the characters to graphics, and it's just the time it would take to do that manually, the time it would take to do it right and to make it look good manually. And then if you change the word or change the font, you got to start all over again. Just having this, hopefully one day come to a product would be, as Keenan said, a game changer.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if we could switch back to my screen.
I want to make a quick comment about this and say that type designers, people who design their own fonts, could use this feature to develop new fonts, like a botanical style font, floral, or whatever it happens to be, and actually generate then those glyphs for a font. I mean, it's a whole new way to do font creation. There's still a ton of creativity and original thinking that has to go into that for each artist to do it. It's a pretty cool resource.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we're just having fun. We're not type stylists or anything like that, but it's cool that you can just, again, at least in this case. So in the case of the brush, you just make a brush and then it will go ahead and put it within the fill of the brush on the inside. Or you can make the separate components like he did for Florence and then animate it. So anyways, you just have to do these colored parts. Which is, kind of fun. It's all about making your content stand out. I think as a designer, we try to get eyeballs on our work. So if it takes animation or whatever unique thing that we can do to get people to look at our stuff, that's what I'll do.
I want more wallets on my work. Is that okay?
More what?
Wallets. Eyeballs and wallets.
Yeah, that would be nice. Let's see if we could play this again. I just like the animation in the end too. You guys like that? I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's slick.
Fun.
Yeah, and again, if you had to do that today, just that last part you showed,
Mm-hmm.
that would all be manual. Whole, you basically have to draw that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. We have what, multicolor fonts. That was a big thing a couple years ago. And now we have this really like unique font that's actually animated. So this is like next level stuff. It's kind of fun. And then we'll throw it into Spark for Katrina. Is that cool? We'll make that font available to you.
Yes, please. That'd be so much fun.
Speaking of something you might be interested in, we'll dive into Make It Pop now. So this one, again, if you're into vectors and stuff like that, this should be pretty fun. We'll kind of play with some of it. So keep in mind, I'm skipping ahead to this point where basically Make It Pop has already vectorized and understood the photo and has made it a vector and understands the limbs of this person and everything. So right in here.
Because Make It Pop understands the difference between the subject and the background here, when I move the shape on top of this subject, part of it goes behind it, creating this really cool depth effect, and that really makes this image pop. And doing this manually would have taken me a lot of time in creating that mask and layering this shape. So isn't it awesome that I've saved so much time?
Well, if it would take you a long time, it would take me approximately, carry the one, forever.
Jokes. Awkward pauses.
I love it.
Now, this looks cool, but it doesn't really have the energy of a skate park. Right, Keenan?
Hey, look, I'm glad you like that photo of me skateboarding and all, but that was private, Nikhil. I wish you had asked me first.
Okay, so let me take this other picture that I have here. But then now, to match this image, I'll have to manually move and edit all of these shapes one by one. But because our technology remembers where these shapes are coming from, it can analyze this new image and remap this illustration, moving all of these shapes to their right places. It has also made sure that the joints and the edges stay connected. It has cleaned it up and even moved the swirl so that it stays attached to the same body parts. Now, I can edit this all I want. So let's change the colors here a little. I'll also add these motion lines to make it look even better. Now, Make It Pop really understands the construction of this image. So when I start dragging this design element, it highlights all the surfaces that it has detected in the scene. And when I drop this onto the ground plane, it matches its perspective and intelligently fills it. Now, if this was a simple pattern fill, it would have just repeated these stripes over, or I would have had to manually make each of these rectangles. But because Make It Pop understood this scene so well at so many levels, it made my work a whole lot easier. And isn't it cool being able to make all the creative decisions yourself and letting the machine do all of the tedious work?
Yes, that's what we all want. That's why we're here.
I know, right? And Make It Pop works not only on images, but it can make a video pop as well. It analyzes all of these frames, does all the heavy lifting for me, putting all the shapes in the right places, giving me this cool animated video. That is Project Make It Pop, and thank you for tuning in.
Hey, nice work, Nikhil. Go ahead and take your victory lap. Yep.
No jokes. I love it. Yeah, Make It Pop. So yeah, analyzing an image, vectorizing it if you want to, or adding content to an image. I don't know, Katrina, like we were talking about, like how would you do this today? If you wanted to really make an image pop, that's kind of what Spark does.
Yeah, it does. And although currently today it doesn't do vectorizing or doing animated videos, but it'd be really cool to have anything you create like in Spark become an animated video. And as like Nikhil said, like it would be great for creating standout videos for social media. So in terms of what Nikhil said when he put in the design element and like and it was able to like detect the subject and separate it from the background. Here is how I would replicate that same effect today in Spark. So we're just going to grab a photo from my Lightroom, and I have this nice shot of me, but the background is really gray, not much color going on. It's kind of meh, you know. So
you like your style.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I work really hard on it. I practice in the mirror. So we are just going to remove the background, and with the Sensei Magic, it can detect that my body's here perfectly. It's a perfect cutout, completely separated it from the background. I'm really surprised that it put a gray background on me when it was already there, but that's okay. Oh, it's white. Never mind. I played myself. Okay, so we're just going to make this a little bit bigger, and we do not want this white background, so we're just going to replace it.
I do want to point out, like, that was pretty amazing that it did knock out the background pretty instantaneously. Remove background. I think not a lot of people know about that. That's in Spark.
Yeah. And I even had like a slight shadow behind me as well, reflecting on the background, and it took that out as well. It's super clean. So we're just going to place this awesome colorful background behind me. And here's a switch here that says add to background, and it does it for you. I don't even have to stretch it or make the edges match or anything. It just did it.
Awesome.
And then we're going to put an let's see, something that's a little bit more complex. We're gonna play with these paint strokes. Oh, this one looks pretty cool. So how I would make some of the strokes appear behind me and some go in front is I would just put it just in front of my face, and we're gonna actually duplicate this layer.
Okay.
And then move the first one behind me, and then take the one in front and then line it up. And then here is the hack. Get ready for it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Here we go. We're going to crop the design asset.
Wow.
Wow, who would have thought you could crop design assets?
I actually don't know if I knew that, and I feel like an idiot now.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, this is a fast trick.
So now we have part of the asset behind me and in front, and then let's actually try a second one. I feel like we can make it pop like even more. So we're gonna put some stars in here. I'm really big on stars right now, and they have frames. Perfect. So if you're working with a frame, It kind of works the same way, where you can just put it on top. We're gonna just do the exact same thing. Oh, covering my eyes. That's not very nice. That's not very nice of it.
I love this idea.
Yeah, thank you. Came up with it myself. So we put some in the. We're gonna put this layer in the back. Am I selecting the right one? Yes.
All these amazing features are making you see stars, Katrina.
I know, literally.
Dad joke. Sorry.
Okay, and then we are going to crop at the point, at a really clean point. We don't want to cut off a star.
But that crop always has to be like a square or rectangle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. So this is kind of like the point where I'm not cutting off any stars or any big shapes. So we'll do that. Did I move this behind me? Wait, did I do it? Did I do it? Oh. Did I crop the wrong one? I cropped the wrong one. That's okay. We can fix it. We'll just switch these two layers. By the way, there is a layers panel here, if y'all didn't know. So that way you don't have to like scramble and click on all the different elements and accidentally move the wrong one. You can actually just click the layer and it will select it for you. And so you don't do what I did and edit the wrong layer. But here we go. So we have the top part of the frame behind me, the bottom parts in front. And this is how I would make my graphics pop in Spark today.
Very poppy. I don't think enough people know Spark exists, Katrina. People need to know that this is there. It is there. It's available. It's been there. It's such a good app. It's a collection of apps. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
And free to use.
And free to use.
Free.
And use it. Use the mobile Spark app too.
Yes.
On your device
and on web.
And on web, which is really cool. So I guess, yeah. I guess if you're Katrina, you can make it pop. The rest of us have to wait for this Sneaks technology. Thank you.
And the cool thing is, I would have never even thought to try that in Spark. I would have just said, oh, I got to do that in Photoshop. I just wouldn't have thought about the cropping aspect to even attempt that.
Yeah.
So thanks for the inspiration.
You're welcome.
And the end goal is to have these make it pop elements, so you don't really have to do a lot of designing. You could hopefully just apply these looks to a photo. And originally this sneak was like a mobile sneak, so we were going to put it on mobile, but just decided to show it on the desktop. So yeah, I hope something like this ends up in something like Spark.
Me too. That'd be really cool.
Recognizing the image, adjusting the stars so they just wrap around you.
And have them move and animate. That'd be really cool.
Animate, that's right. And again, he did it he finished with video. So again, if you could have Adobe Sensei analyze an image, I make it sound real easy. Well, it could just do it with video too. It's so much more complex than that. But that's the obvious next step is to can we have it recognize a person in video? Because you have all this video on your phone of Katrina's skateboarding, right?
Yeah.
Totally. Well, XD is supporting Lottie now, so it'd be really cool to see Lottie animations make their way into Spark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. That's so impressive. The Lottie animations available.
Because they're such tiny files,
They are teeny. And I'm like, can't SVG have animation in them, by the way?
I'm not sure. I think so. I don't know.
I thought they could, and I'm like, what? Why couldn't that be an SVG file format? Anyways, it's an independent file format, can be transferred everywhere. Let's got to move on. Move on to Artful Frames. This is where we challenge Kyle to paint a frame at the same speed as a sneak. I don't think that's what it is. Taking a painting and applying it to a frame to a whole video, not just one frame. So hopefully Kyle and everybody will appreciate this one.
And that's not even close to the level of detail of making an oil painting. That's where Project Artful Frames, powered by Adobe Sensei, comes in. It doesn't have an interface yet, but I'll show you how it works in the command line. First, I specify the video I want to trace over, and then the piece of artwork that we want to emulate.
I love his outfit.
And finally, I'll invoke a fast preview mode. Press enter, and then every second or so, we'll produce a new artful frame. Let's retrieve the results. Now these are good for a fast preview, but we'll want our final results to be in high definition. This takes longer, about 90 seconds or so per frame. That's much faster than any human could paint, but a bit slow for this demo, so I've rendered the rest of the results beforehand.
And I thought I was a good impressionist. See what I did there? I put the ist on impression.
You are, Keenan. I've been watching your sketches since I was a kid. But let's look at this first frame. If we look at the details, we can see individual brushstrokes and even the texture of the original canvas. And if I press play, we get a beautiful painterly animation where every frame is an oil painting.
Who needs great painters anymore? Van Gogh is somewhere going, excuse me? Oh, wait, sorry, wrong ear. Excuse me?
That's all.
We still need great painters. Artful Frames just applies their work to a new scene. It's useless without a reference. But speaking of references, what happens if we use a different one? Let's say I have this watercolor and this video of the park. Artful Frames will now produce this other output. Just by switching out the inputs, we create a completely different visual effect, where every frame is a watercolor instead of an oil painting.
This is going to change the whole painting game. Take that, Monet sayers. The way, Nick. Pedal to the metal.
All right, let's do it. So let's say the Science Museum comes to me and they want to create a campaign highlighting the relationship between creativity and the natural world. For a prompt like this, maybe it makes more sense for our style to be some natural phenomena rather than a piece of art.
Somebody tell the art supply store.
Here I've stylized the kid's drawing as a swirling nebula. Now, this entire effect, just like before, was driven by a single picture, but in this case a photograph, this one. Now I have one more example to show you. We can also use Artful Frames to create some neat special effects. Here's a picture of some lightning bolts and a video of a girl with a jetpack. Artful Frames can still handle this well and create a cool special effect. We composite the result back over the original and get this superhero effect.
Nice.
Cool. So what do you think of the Artful Frames, Keenan?
This is so impressive. The way that you can take a blank canvas and paint your dreams onto it. It's kind of like when I go out and perform a comedy sketch.
Thanks, Keaton. Have a good one.
All right. You get the idea. So I don't know if you noticed that. Maybe I could pause some of the frames, but so obviously the painting one is awesome. You take a painting, it applies to a video and understands the video. So the strokes were actually following like the curves of the street and stuff like that.
I think the artists who all worked tirelessly on that Van Gogh movie from a few years ago, was it, I think, Loving Vincent or something, the one that was 100% painted, are probably really upset that this didn't come out a few years ago.
There we go. I'm kind of sharing my screen now. It should, so you can see just kind of like a clip of it. But yeah, there's some of the movements so everybody can check it out. Same thing with the lightning bolts, right? So those lightning bolts are kind of wrapping around the girl in the end, which again is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You know, taking a photo and actually understanding the video. Actually, sorry. That is just, this is what's impressive. That's a photo of lightning, and this is video of a girl, and it looks like that lightning is animating, which I think is so cool. So anyways, that's why it sneaks. All right, let's move on to our last one here, shall we? If we don't have any more comments there. Artful Frames, cool. Would love to see it. And let's go on to Strike a Pose. All right. Strike a pose. Yeah, let's roll tape. And so it takes
Strike a pose gonna do rest of the magic to generate completely new image of this model in our desired target pose. This is really amazing given that this image never existed in real world. An entire image was generated from the scratch.
So I'll just kind of lower the volume. Essentially, there's the source, and then there's the pose that he's stealing from another photo, which is the middle one.
Matching our target pose here. Sometimes finding a stock image with a desired pose might be tedious, and we would be much faster to just pose ourselves. For example, I was interested in this folded arm pose, so I just went ahead and took a picture of me in that specific pose. It just took me a few seconds. And then provided this image as our target pose. And again, we generated a new image matching my pose. So we can simply take the images in different poses which we like, and Strike a Pose can generate image matching these poses. I was also curious that how this model gonna look while facing backward. So I took another picture of me facing backward and provided it as the target image. And again, strike a pose generated a new image of this model facing backward. This is an extremely challenging task because we need to hallucinate entire back portion by just looking at the front side of the source image here. So we have seen our capabilities of reposing on stock images till now. Let's see how can we use it for some interesting downstream tasks. So remember the model which our artist friend want to use it for his poster? We used strike a pose to generate all these different pose variations of this model. This is truly remarkable because this model never posed in these poses before, but still strike a pose was able to generate all these different pose variation by using just a single image as a reference. Next, our artist friend created this impressive poster by using our generated image and saved a lot of time because he doesn't have to perform reposing himself. So till now we have seen our reposing capabilities on stock images, but our technology is not limited to that and can be also used for personal photo collection. So I recently got engaged.
Way to bury the lead, Krishna.
And my fiance was visiting my parents.
Congrats on your engagement. I think the thing you've neglected to mention about this technology is that it makes you irresistible to women.
I'm not too sure about that, but thanks anyway, Keenan. As my fiance was visiting my hometown, she was quite tense and ended up giving a pose which she didn't like.
Well, I mean, in fairness, it is a lot of pressure meeting the future in-laws.
That's true, but usually she is quite good in posing and has many more images in which she really liked her pose. After seeing what strike a pose could do on the stock images, she asked, can we replicate similar magic on her photo collection? And I said, why not? I gave the image in which she didn't like her pose as the source image, followed by an image in which she really liked her pose as the target image. And again, strike a pose powered by Adobe Sensei did its magic and generated a completely new image of my fiance in the pose which she really liked. So basically we can easily change any bad poses in our personal photo collection using strike a pose.
Cool.
So Keenan, do you have any embarrassing pose which you would like to change?
I don't think so. I have done a lot of modeling.
Work it, work it.
Actually, yes, Krishna,
right.
this technology
You get
would
it.
be extremely useful to me.
So,
Any bad
pretty-
poses in our personal photo collection?
Let's mute that. So yeah, pretty impressive, right? I heard a
Yeah.
couple.
That
Yeah.
is like, that's the mic drop moment when he turned the model around and it had to generate what the back of the person would look like. That's
Yes.
just wow.
I'll jump.
Bananas.
Yeah.
I'll jump to that right
It's
now.
hard enough doing just the poses, but just to have it figure out what the
Right.
what the source would look like from behind and do a decent job of it.
That's all,
just-
again, like he mentioned, burying the lead. I feel like that was kind of like buried the coolest part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if this
All
gets
right,
crazy enough that it adds a bald spot or something, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, that'd be a slider. ball spot slider.
But he does it with. I've seen other demos where he does it with. You know, if the person's cut off at the waist, so you only have the person from the waist up, and then you load in a
Legs.
photo of the leg.
That is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Well,
Terry,
if we switch to my screen, I'll show you just a taste of what it would take to do, not even close to that, but just what it would take to do just a slight change manually. So here's a model I had in studio, photographed her in various poses. And let's say I like this pose, but I want to move her right arm, which is on my left side, down a little. Well, okay, that in and of itself, just moving her arm closer to her body requires several steps. First and foremost, I had to separate her from the background. So that was select subject, select and mask, make a new layer, then use content aware fill to fill in the yellow so it kind of looks the same on the background. So now she's isolated. So that process has to happen. Next up, then it was, now that she's on her own layer, I can go into Puppet Warp. And with Puppet Warp, that creates this grid, and I probably would make a smart object out of it first so it'd be non-destructive, but that would create this grid. And then I'd have to painstakingly go in and click everywhere that I'm going to want to bend. And you might think, oh, you only need 2 points because you're only bending the arm, right? Well, the whole body's tied together. So if you bend the arm, you're kind of spinning the subject. So you got to have some anchor points too. Like, okay, well, we need to anchor her feet down so they don't move. And we're probably going to want to be able to move her knees and, maybe at the waist. And then while we're at it, we're going to need some points over here as well for that arm. And maybe that's enough to where I can now start to bend the arm. Okay, great. So I could achieve it just a very simple pose change. But if I wanted that arm to now be up, so both arms are up like the one on the other side, well, then, yeah, you're gonna get something that probably doesn't look good. So you're not gonna use puppet work for that. You're going to then just painstakingly make a copy of that arm, fill in the other one, flip it up, and then try and clone it in so it looks good, so it matches the sweater. Oh, her arm's showing, so that's even going to make it harder. And just again, things like just moving a leg. Okay, that I could probably get away with, but if I move it too far, it starts to look weird. So then I got to start adding points to be able to turn the foot so it doesn't look weird. Oh, okay. Oh, now her shoe's breaking. So again, in the amount of time, just loading loading a target image in and just clicking a button and it makes the image that pose, I'm like, take my money, as they say. Where do I sign up for that feature? Hopefully to one day come into Photoshop.
So nice.
So this again with Puppet Warp, simple changes, not a big deal. But when you start there's no, if I turned her around, we would just see a mirror image of her. We wouldn't see her back. Yeah. So just again, I would have to fake all of that to get that to work. And
what you've just created is a perfect freeze frame of the Elaine dance from Seinfeld.
Right. Well, with the broken heel, let me. Oh, and the heel's even going worse now. Hang on, let me undo that. Yeah, so yeah, there we go. That's better. At least the heel's not broken. But yeah, just trying to get stuff like this to look right today is just is just like I wouldn't want to think about having to do this on a regular basis. Minor changes, puppet tools, great, but anything like what he was doing, I wouldn't even attempt it. I would bring the model back in and set up another shoot before I would attempt trying to make all those pose changes.
Right. Oh man, so good. Yeah. So sounds like that's one of your favorite sneaks, Terry?
Oh, by hands down. Like that. If I were giving out an award for best sneak, that would be the one I'd give out. Like that's just when he turned the model around again, that was just like, you could never do that before without 3D.
Yeah, totally awesome. Yeah, I agree. That and the strike a pose, which was searching for, trying to find the right pose. Here you're generating a brand new pose based on something else, which I think is right. So awesome, everybody. We're kind of wrapping up. We're down to the last couple of minutes. All you evangelists, feel free to drop your name in chat so people can follow you on YouTube, and that would be cool just to kind of keep in touch with you. But yeah, let's just kind of go around and just kind of say your favorite sneak, if you don't mind. Terry, yours was strike a pose.
Strike a pose, like, is not even I mean, the other ones are great, don't get me wrong, but this is the one that I would use like regularly.
Cool. All right, Kyle, what about yourself?
I love that vector art one where it's filling in the colors automatically, giving you color palettes to choose from, and then being able to shade it. I love that. I think that's just, to me, really exciting for artists and for illustrators. So I'm really into that one. I obviously love the drop shadow one too, but I mean, I have to go with the Illustrator one with the color choices. That's so cool.
Yeah, Project Sunshine. We'll drop a link to all these sneaks in a second. Katrina, what about you? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, as much as I love Make It Pop, like, just strike a pose, man. Do you know how many photos I've thrown out all because of just minor pose mistakes? Like, not gonna lie, like, all my social creators know this, and even maybe you, Terry, a photographer, it takes like 200, maybe 500 photos before you find your top 5 shots.
Yeah, and there isn't a session that I do that's less than 300 frames. Like, that's the bare minimum is 300 frames.
Yeah, so
And
to
they
be
can
able to
easily
do
go
that.
700,000 frames to kind of get just the 10 shots I really like.
Yeah. So to even be able to just like pick the pose from even like an image that's not even yours, right? And it can like replicate that same pose, it would just cut down the amount of frames that you would have to scrub through and like pick and stuff. So
yeah,
I love that
it's
one.
everybody's camera rolls full of like bad poses.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, maybe we don't have to deal with that anymore. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for things that I could use today, I could use shadow drop personally, just because I find myself making lots of shadows, making them look realistic and stuff. But I think they were all fun. You guys can watch them all, and yeah, you don't have to have a favorite. You get a multiple favorites. We will put a link to all of the sneaks videos in chat, so you can check them out for yourself. But we got a whole schedule lined up, so we'll switch to that right now. If Paco, if it's not too late. Next steps. There we go. Oh, thank you. Cool. And yeah, first takes video. Sharon, you can see the schedule, you can read it, but a full day planned for Community Live Lounge. And that's a place where we can continue the conversation. So thanks so much for watching. I think our time is up for the most part. I appreciate everybody hanging out. And yeah, we'll hopefully see you in Community Live. You got a session today? Who has sessions today, just as we're wrapping up? I mean, I think we're still live, so.
Yeah,
I've got
mine are
one.
tomorrow.
You, Terry, you have yours tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
I've got a Meet the Fresco team later today, and tomorrow I've got my lab for new features in Fresco, so check it out.
Ooh, new features. Those are fun. Katrina, where can we see you next?
I have another session today for the Ask the Speaker. I'll be interviewing Kyle Webster today at 2:30 p.m.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
I like their last name.
Mm-hmm. It's the same as yours.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think I'm going to be with Mark Heaps later on Behance today, and then my sessions are tomorrow.
Busy day.
Yep. All right, guys, that's it for us. We might not even be live, but I still like talking to you guys. I still like talking to you guys. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're going to cut out of here and go watch some content ourselves and get ready for the next phase of what we're doing. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you all next time.
Enjoy Max.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.